All right, so we're talking about technological, social, emotional stalking. In the last video, I was speaking directly about how there's psychological operations within gang stalking. So you have the visual campaigns that are consistently going, people wearing black and red, people driving by you with their brights on, people put objects in their yard just because of the color of the objects. It's a constant process of color coding and objects and people, you know, all types of people. Like, you can go out through your day and have dozens of people participating in this. A lot of it's artificial intelligence, is automatic. There's different sorts of groups, like I was saying, that are networked through to get the people to participate in gang stalking. People who work at stores will be asked to do it. The stores you go into, not just the shoppers, but the people working there. It'll be made a detail of their work assignment, of what they're already doing when they're working. I mean, this stuff, I've been watching this stuff for almost 3 years, you know? So anyhow, now going back to what I was saying, emotional connotations are attached to the gang stalking that's already going on. So, for instance, again, I was speaking about how there can be one woman who, like, usually this happens most part for men. For women, it happens vice versa. But you will go speak to a woman, yada, yada, yada. They'll get that person to participate in the gang stalking assignments. Just like I was saying, and not only will they be following you around doing the gang stalking assignments, they'll go find other people that look identical to those people, and they will be participating in the gang stalking assignments. But none of those people who are participating necessarily know anything about what's going on. They're not going to have the knowledge necessarily of the woman that you went to and was talking to, and she was doing the gang stalking assignments to you. They're not even going to know why they're picked. They're not even going to know. It's not networked like that. It's very compartmentalized. So again, one individual following you around, gang stalking you, yada, yada, yada. Then 5 other individuals that look like that individual. That's the emotional tension on people. So it's an invasive invasion of your life. It's a sophisticated, like, hostile harassment, psychological takeover of somebody's life. It's crazy. And now, again, I was saying the first woman, now they may have her drive in the car with other guys, so it's supposed to be like a thing against you. Like, hey, like, look at this. You went to go talk to this woman, now she's not only gang stalking you, now she's gang stalking you in the car with another guy, and they may ask the woman to drive by you and look at you in the car with another guy, and then all those other women are going to follow. They're going to network to all those other women to follow suit. So this is like a big, huge, strange psychological operation that you're being hit with. Then on top of that, they're all wearing black and red, in most cases, or it could be other colors. You know, if some people are hit with color coding with other colors, it might just be white and black. Who knows? Or it could be, you know, green and black, or brown and black, or purple and black, or it doesn't matter. They'll find, you know, the color coding can operate in different colors, but with me and most people, it's usually red and black. So at that same scenario, all these people are wearing red and black. Then you got objects being placed in certain places that are red and black. So you're getting off into the area of, like, an attempt to, actually, I like to call this, looking at there's 3 stages: confusion, distraction, and sensitization. You're getting off into the area at an attempt to, like, really mess with somebody's mind. Like, this isn't like mind control MK Ultra, where you take somebody into a laboratory and cut their head open and put implants in, which was done a lot to people. If you go back to the old MK Ultra behavioral modification files, I put those up on some links in a previous YouTube video. But it may not be sophisticated as that. But this is an attempt to have extreme influence on somebody's mind and their perception of reality. This gets into color perception, neuro-linguistics programming. It gets into, you know, behavioral science, and it's an attempt to really mess with your mind and distract you. And it's like a hostile, it's like a harassment, a constant harassment of attacks. That's how it looks, and that's how it feels. And when it first begins happening to you on that level, your mind is like a baby's mind. You're not used to it. It feels like cuts. The first few times it happens, you won't really notice it, but as it repeatedly happens, you're being invaded by all these different people that you don't know, you don't want them to know, you don't want them in your space. If it was up to you, they would not be in your space, but they're invading your space, whether you want them to or not. And so it feels like cuts. It feels like somebody took a razor blade and just cut. That's what it feels like. And so you're sitting there and you got to go through your day, and that's occurring to you. That's just one operation. There'd be multiple other operations going on simultaneously of other people they get to participate in the gang stalking. It's really a trip. So, and this is done in a systematic way where they want to know specifically like who you are closest to. So again, they can find somebody that you're best friends with, or used to be best friends with, or used to know. Now they might try to get that person to get in the car with the first woman scenario. They might try to get that person to get in the car, drive with that person, or get them to drive in the car with the other people who look like the first. There's all sorts of strange stuff that goes on. And it's really like, and then when the person goes out and tells people about this, and they're just like, man, I'm being gang stalked. Like, I don't know what's going on. Now there's all these people wearing black and red, and they're paying people to follow me around and do all this. People are just looking at you like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And in the meantime, you're being harassed 24/7, constantly. On top of that, you could be getting covertly drugged. You can go to a restaurant, and it will be networked. Somebody put drugs in your food at the restaurant. So now you just got drugged by a drug, you don't know what it is. You're walking around like, now I'm drugged. Electronical weapons. Some people get usually when it first starts, some people get death threats. Different sorts of stuff. It's 24/7, it's 24/7. So now going back to what I was saying, social emotional, like these social emotional attacks, now that's one instance, that's one operation I described by the woman and the other people. And now you got that going on. So now that's happening. All the gang stalking's going on, and that's just one operation within the gang stalking. Now again, I say, wow, man, that didn't go too well. Well, let me go try it. Now there's this other woman I'm going to go speak to. Oh, guess what? Now they're going to turn that into the same. So now you got two of them going at the same time. Two of those going at the same time. Pretty soon you might have 3 or 4 or 5 of them going constantly at the same time. At the same time. 5 different groups of people gang stalking you and having people that look like them and mimic them, wearing all these different colors and all this different stuff, and if at the same time. And none of these people in each group don't even know each other, but it's all being compartmentalized and networked at the same. I'm not even good enough at this point to come up with the terminology and the words. Like, I'm just trying to express to people what this looks like and how it seems. And then hold up a minute. Oh, okay. Then when that's going on, then they'll intermix the different groups. Then they'll have like one woman from one group that you were talking to with the people mimicking her. Then they'll have another woman from the other group you were talking to. Then they'll have them like out at the same time following each other with the different people. Like it's crazy. Excuse my language. But it's insane. All these people wearing these colors, noise campaigns, simultaneously, covert drug and electronical weapons. And so I can't even explain to people how this like just watching this stuff is insane. It's insane. It's like being on the island of Dr. Monroe. That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like just watching it feels like you're on the island of Dr. Monroe. Like, wow, man, whoever came up with this stuff is just like this is crazy. Like that movie New Jack City, this is bigger than Nino Brown, you know? And technology is a factor in this. I was dating a woman for a couple months, and I spoke about this in a bunch of other videos, so I'm not going to go that much into it. But she had a Google modified GPS map on her phone. She was getting paid prepaid credit cards, Walmart cards, PayPal money. But she was fucking cool. Excuse my language. She was cool, though. She was cool because she would, like, do the gang stalking assignments and then come and pick me up and then hang out with me and stuff. And she would show me how it was working. She showed me how it worked. When I wasn't with her, she would follow me periodically. Then when I was with her, she would pull into certain gas stations. People would do the entry-exit where they would come in at the same time, leave at the same time. When she woke up in the morning, she'd have to wear red and black colored clothes and stuff. People through Facebook would network it to her. So I watched how this was happening, and then she didn't have very much knowledge of how this stuff was working. She couldn't see what I could see. She knew her part specifically, how she was contacted to participate in it, and all she had to do was pull out a Google Map phone and nowhere to go, a start and destination, nowhere to go, to follow me throughout the city and do the gang stalking assignments. And when I was with her, one time I was with her, and she was on her Facebook, and she did a mimic effect where she said something. She said she looked at her phone and she read it, and she said, "Get in where you fit in." And I had said that previously on a YouTube video. Now there's a rapper named Too Short who had an album called Get In Where You Fit In. And so I remember I was doing some motivational speeches for people on YouTube, and I was like, get in where you fit in. If I can't get you in, I'll squeeze you in. Like, I'd have a whole rundown when I came on my beat gang stalking courses to motivate people. And it was just something I just pulled up, randomly. Like, I just pulled up out of nowhere as I was talking. And then the next day, I was in the car with her, and she was looking through her Facebook, and she read her Facebook, and she said, get in where you fit in, reading it like that. Well, it makes sense. I'm being gang stalked 24/7. Money is exchanging hands. It's being networked through all these different groups. The people who are a part of that were seeing me on YouTube, seeing what I was saying, and so they networked it for her to mimic it back to me. And so they connected through her Facebook. She's already getting paid Walmart cards, PayPal, and all this stuff. And it was so funny. She didn't even have a driver's license or a license plate on her car, but she's getting all this money to gang stalk, And so I remember that mimic effect. And I was just like, wow, man, now I see how it happens. She didn't even know, at that time, she didn't even know I was on YouTube. She didn't know anything about it. And so I'm sitting there watching her do the mimicking effect, and I'm like, wow, that is crazy how people are out there watching my YouTube videos who are a part of the gang stalking, and it got networked and sent to her to mimic me like that, verbally. And so thinking like that, if I would have went out and and told people, man, I'm being gang stalked, and this person, they're wearing all these colors and they know everything I'm saying, it's not going to really translate. She only does she just follow me around all day, but she's not intimate. She doesn't know necessarily enough to understand the whole operation. So it's very compartmentalized like that. And man, let me think. So you have the emotional, social connotations, and this stuff gets disturbing, man. This stuff gets disturbing because it's 24/7. This isn't like a few times a day or one time a week. You literally have teams of people out there stalking you repeatedly already. Then you add psychological operations into the stalking, and it's 24/7. It's like a no-touch type of torture. It's like somebody's not going to come up to you and hit you in your mouth and break your jaw, or come up to you and necessarily break your car window. It's like a no-touch type of thing, to where you're just watching yourself being stalked. And through that, it is a touch when they drug your food, you know what I'm saying? But electronic, so that is a touch a little bit. But the gang stalking, as you see the people following you, you're being stalked. Make no exception. You are literally being stalked. Every definition of stalking is there. You are being stalked. And technology is being used in order to orchestrate the stalking. There's no misconception there. And a lot of the people involved didn't know exactly what they're doing. They're not confused. They know they're stalking you. A lot of them might not know it, but there's a few who are intimate. They know exactly what they're doing. They know they're stalking you. But at the same time, you have these psychological effects being put into it. It's a real good way to fuck with somebody's mind. Gang stalking, whoever came up with this stuff said, you know what? We need a tool we can use to really fuck somebody over. Now, excuse my language, but I do crisis counseling, and so sometimes when you're expressing how you feel, it's necessary. It's not necessary. So I'm just saying, that's the feeling. We need to really find a way to fuck somebody over as much as possible without anybody around them knowing that it's happening, or if they do know it's happening, knowing how it works. How can we fuck somebody over and make them go psychotic, or make them kill themselves, or make them go out and kill somebody else, or sensitize to it and put them under some sort of mind control or something, without other people figuring out how it works, or even believing the person or knowing what's going on? How can we do that? That's what gang stalking is. And there's different intensity levels to it. There's various intensity levels to it, And I swear I've been going through it for almost 3 years. So, you know, I've been watching it happen every single day for next month will be 3 years. I've been watching this happen. I've been a witness to gang stalking every single day for almost 3 years. And even when I'm in a place and it's not happening, I'm still thinking about it because it just happened, or I know it's going to happen. So I'm constantly analyzing. Then I'm doing courses for people and all that stuff. So when you're being gang stalked, it becomes your whole life. Some people get gang stalked at a lesser level, and it doesn't really, you know, it's just here and there. But people like myself, this stuff's 24/7. So a lot of people have come up with. I've heard people say, "Why don't you ignore it?" How do you ignore being followed around by swarms of people wearing red shirts and bright lights, and every time you talk to somebody, they do it, and they got people who look like? How do you ignore that? That doesn't make sense. When somebody says something like that, I know they've never dealt with any. I know they don't understand. I know they don't. Their mind can't comprehend what's being expressed to them because they haven't experienced it. This is something that you don't know it until you experience it. You know. Now I tell people, go back and look at that old MK Ultra stuff, and look how they were taking drills and drilling holes into people's head and giving them LSD and all that stuff. It's similar to that in some sense when you get on that level with these psychological stuff. But when you explain it to people, they just don't get it. They don't get it. Only the people who go through it get it. But that doesn't mean that they don't know what's happening, though. A lot of people know that they'll look at you. They know you're being gang stalked. They know something's going on. They just might not be sure of how it feels or how deep it is. Or they don't know how to deal with it because it's never happened to them. So they'll have smart remarks like, well, why would they make a YouTube video out? It doesn't make it worse. Or why they tell me? See, because they're stupid. They never dealt with it. They're ignorant. They have no education on it. So you can't school them. Then you gotta take it at face value and recognize that they've never dealt with anything like that. So their minds aren't capable of coming up with suggestions and solutions for something they haven't dealt with. You know, but and then going back to what I was saying about color perception. Now, color perception works in such a way, the color red naturally brings out a nervous feeling in people. And it naturally brings out like an uneasiness or an aggressive type of feeling. And so, psychologists have commented on this. So if you're being stalked by swarms of people wearing red, that's constantly like a nervous feeling, blah, 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 and that interferes with your brain waves. Recently I've been doing some work on the brainwave states, alpha, beta, delta, theta, gamma, in conjunction with color perception. And I just started getting into it. I just started scratching the surface into this. And now I'm looking at remedies and healing techniques, brainwave optimization. I've been looking at people that go through like the Vietnam War and different types of war, how they have post-traumatic stress disorder, and brainwave optimization with harmonics and sound affect their neural pathways and change their perception of reality. And so that's what gang stalking does. It messes with your neural pathways. You systematically terrorize somebody repeatedly with noise and people with colors, drugging, electronic weapons. How do you think that's going to affect the person? How do you think that's going to affect the person? If I'm sitting with somebody outside and somebody slams the door in the parking lot, that person's not going to be thinking about it. But with me, I know what this has happened to me systematically, periodically, where people just slam fucking doors just to do the gang stalking. They just slam fucking doors, and so I'll be sitting there and I'll hear the door slam, and then everything associated with the sound of hearing a door slam jumps in, like all right, like that. And I remember. I know a guy who was in the Vietnam War when I was growing up, and every 4th of July, he had to hide under his bed. He had to hide under his bed every 4th of July because of the fireworks. Matter of fact, if he was outside walking around and some fireworks shot out, he'd jump on the ground. One time he crawled into a ditch, and it took people 3 hours to talk him out of that ditch. he wouldn't come out. And sometimes on 4th of July, he would crawl under his bed and he would not come out till the fireworks were over with. Not because he didn't understand the fireworks were going, just because it had been programmed into his mind. This was programmed into him from those experiences. So I'll be sitting there and a door, and somebody can come out there and slam a car. Any bimbo can participate in gang stalking. Somebody come out there and just slam a door. Other people just sit there and look at like, yeah, you know, blah, 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 blah. They're not thinking about it. They don't care. You know, it doesn't bother them. I hear it slam, and then everything that comes up associated through the gang stalking with those experiences automatically kicks in. And that brings up hostility, right? Because I'm thinking about all these different times and all these different people and all these different things that happened to me through the gang stalking. So you see what I'm saying? So this is why I do crisis counseling for people on gang stalking. This is why I do my courses, and this is exactly why I'm getting to the brain optimization. But I was going to say something else. The guy Myron May, the shooter, who went out shooting people out of college, I often tell people, you know, he was being gang stalked and he couldn't get any assistance for what was happening to him. So he went to the college and started shooting people. He didn't go to the college that, I understand what happened to him based on my experience. He didn't go to the college that day and start shooting people because of anything that happened that day. He went to the college and started shooting people because of all the things that had happened every day before that while he was being gang stalked, and he was trying to explain it. Nobody would listen to him, right? Almost like the riots. When you saw the Rodney King riots or like the Watts riots, people say, wow, man, that all happened because, you know, the cops got found not guilty or whatever. They beat up Rodney King. No, it wasn't that. It was all the stuff. It was a lot of those people that had been living in the area had a lot of negative experience similar to that for years before that. That was just a reminder of a million other times that same kind of thing happened. And so it triggered the people off. You know, it was like a trigger. Same thing with the Myron May thing. It was a trigger. And so people sit back, they get gang stalked, and it keeps on going. And that's what the people who are doing it want. They want to psychologically damage you and harass you repeatedly. Then they like to cover it up and make it seem like there's something wrong with you. Like you're making it up after they've done it for so long. See? And so one of the things that's going on now is I'm doing the crisis counselings, and man, because there's so many people contact me all the time with suicidal thoughts, and people contact me with violently. I've spoken to people on the phone where every time I talked to them, the subject came up. They always talked about taking the AK off the shelf. There's people like that I've spoken to who I've had to counsel, who every time I spoke to them, they talked about taking a gun off the shelf. You know, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Or there's people who every time I spoke to them, they talked about killing themselves. Or every time I spoke to them, they talked about what else? They just talked about they couldn't handle it, and they were tripping out. And so naturally, after speaking with these people and after going through the experiences I've gone through, it's naturally put me in a seat to try to come up with some sort of remedy for these people, because the psychologists won't talk to them about it, the counselors won't help them, their family won't help them, their communities don't care. There's nowhere literally they can go. And the amount of pressure that they're under is tremendous. Well-financed, well-networked, organized stalking, artificial intelligence, covert drugging, electronic weapons, simultaneous psychological operations happening no matter what. You know what I mean? It's like crazy, man. It's crazy. I started in June of 2016 doing courses for people, and I just kept telling them, walk up to the people who are doing it and talk to them about it. That's what I started doing in the spring of 2016. I just started walking up to the people and speaking to them directly about the gang stalking, and then some of them started responding back to me, acknowledging it and telling me about their participation in it. Some of them did. And so I just went with that. I just said, all you have to do is walk up to them and talk to them about it, and other people started trying it, and it started working for them. I had like 3 different people tell me that I helped them out of suicide. I have other people tell me that it saved their life. Had they not done it, they would have been messed up. And people be like, that's all you got to do is talk to them? I'm like, what? Why couldn't you figure that out yourself? Their minds, man. They just needed a permission slip to do it, I guess. I gave them a permission slip to get active with it. And so that's what they started doing. They started following my suit and doing it. Then I would be interviewing the people. And then that was at a light level. And so now I was gravitated to that, from that to these stages: confusion, distraction, sensitization, audio, visual. Now we're getting into behavioral science, brain. Now it's getting into a more serious type of practice I'm doing, right? And so I'm just doing the best I can. I don't even got a high school diploma. You know, I just look at it like, you know what I mean? If you know, I gotta do what I can to you know, I deal with myself. You know what I mean? First, I come first. You know, but I gotta do what I can to help whoever I can. If people are contacting me with these issues, you know, I do what I, you know what I mean? I do what I can. You know, so if you know, so I got a blog where I do articles about this stuff. Then I do these YouTube videos, and I'm doing interviews and courses and whatnot. But I don't know if this stuff. Let me see this. I don't know if it really, you know, I'm trying to explain this to people, not just the people who are going through it, but I'm trying to explain this to people who know somebody who is going through it. Behavioral neuroscience, scientific study of the neural basis of behavior and mental states, physiological psychology, sub-biological psychology. See it? That's what this stuff is a direct manipulation of neural tissue. That's exactly what this stuff is. Now let me hold on. Before I close off, we started off, I was talking about the psychological operations. If you go up to somebody, they'll hire the person, then hire people who look like that person. And then it goes on 24/7. And then what else? It's just a mess. It's just a mess is what it is. It's just a mess. But I'm trying to think how to put it. I don't want to leave anything out on that concept. Cause okay, the way they do, and not only now this is something I left out. So so there'll be one person. So for women it can be a man. For men it's mostly women. But you go to somebody, you're talking to them, they get that person to participate. Next thing you know, they create some sort of thing out of it, some sort of psychological thing out of it. And then not only will you have that one person and the 5 other people who look like that person, but then the regular people who are participating in the gang stalking all over the place, they'll be playing roles connected to it. So if you go to a store, it won't be that 5 main people following you that looks like that one person, but it might be somebody else at the store who dyed whose hair is dyed the same color as those people. Or it'll be they will literally dye people's hair on purpose. Like the areas you live at, some of your neighbors could be doing that, dyeing their hair, or some of your coworkers could be dyeing their hair, or somebody at a religious congregation could purposely be doing it, kind of like mimicking the whole scenario. But they don't know they're participating. This is a whole nother thing. They won't understand the networking of it, because the orchestrations and the networking, their tentacles can go into your church. Their tentacles can go into your workplace. Their tentacles can go into the area you live at. They have the ability through their tentacles to reach all these different spheres of influence. And the people in each group, they're not going to know. They're not necessarily going to know how this is working. They know their little roles they have to do. It's like getting punched. It's like it's just one. There's like, hey, this is one more punch. This is one more punch. We're going to get into the workplace and do this. That's one more punch. We're going to get into the neighborhood and do this. That's one more punch. We're going to get into the stores that the person goes to. We're going to do this and do that. And it sounds so otherworldly to people who haven't experienced it. But it's happening. This is exactly the stuff that's happening. And it's happening 24/7. The videos that I put videos up where I show people about brightening and color coding and all that stuff. It doesn't really explain the psychological factors too well. Sometimes you can see in the videos how the people got certain color shirts on. Like if you see a car that's doing the brightening, you can see in the video how the majority of the people will be wearing like red shirts and stuff like that, So that's another thing. You can follow it by cars. Cars will be certain colors. The people in the cars will look certain ways and stuff. But it doesn't really express the overall, just filming gang stalking, brights on cars, it doesn't really film the overall psychological connotation that's added to it. It's a very strong manipulation of the person's environment, of their reality. And it's hard to explain, man. I want to get more people, or if people do understand what I'm saying, they're not going to know it, even listening to it and understanding it from one perspective. Just living it is a completely different thing. Just living it is a completely different thing. I want to get more people to try to describe it who are going through it, and see if I can. I'm gonna try to extract. I want to extract a deeper meaning out of it for people. I'm just not sure how to do it. The way I perceive the general public who hasn't gone through it, to me, they look soft. Psychologically, the general public looks soft to me. A lot of these people would fall apart. If something like this happened to them, they would go under quickly. Within 10 days, they would go under. They would lose their job. They would lose their position in school. A lot of them would have nervous breakdowns. A lot of them would kill themselves. If they did this to a great number of they just increased the numbers as an experiment to see what happened, which I know that's the kind of stuff the people who orchestrate the gang stalking, of course, they're watching to see the reactions and they're experimenting and stuff like that already on people. But I would like to see it happen to 10 new people and just see their reactions. A lot of them would have a really hard time with it. They wouldn't be able to make it. They would if they were married, that would fall apart quickly. Not always, but it would fall apart quickly. The job they work at would be gone. Their social standing and their friends would be cut off. Because the gang stalking goes to these different people and tells them all these different stories, the networks of people, and they would slowly but surely try to cut off your connection to your sphere of influence around you. The average person would have a breakdown. They'd be oh my God, my job is gone, my wife is gone, my life is gone, and they'd be jumping up, they'd be tripping. They would be tripping. Just like what you saw happen with Myron May. He was an attorney. And you saw what he did. He was an attorney. And he showed up at a college shooting. A lawyer. You know what I mean? So if the average person went through it, they'd go under. 2 seconds flat. Easily. And that's one of the things. A lot of these people are in denial about it. They're in denial about the existence of gang stalking. They don't want it. I think a lot of people are scared of it. I think there's a lot of people, they know what's going on. They're scared of it. They say, I don't want that to happen to me. Because they know. They know if it happens to them, they're not prepared for it. They know that. They know if it ever happens to them, they're not prepared for it. They know they're going to go under in 2 seconds flat. And so, I'm going to put up I'll have some new information out. I'm working on some writing right now to describe it a little bit better. The emotional connotations, the psychological, social, technological factors and stuff. I'm working on some new writings about it, but I'll have some more people on to explain it a little bit better, because I explain it, but I think there's people out there who've gone through it. It stressed them out more, so they'd be able to explain different people, different listeners relate to different people differently. So I think if I had more examples, it'd look a lot better for somebody to interpret how this is happening.